Hello, everybody. My name is Dylan M. Rafaty, and welcome to our second episode of Let's Work Inclusively podcast. I am thrilled and excited to be featuring 3 emerging leaders for our Emerging Leaders Fellowship program. Just for those who don't know and tuning in for the first time, the Let's Work Inclusively podcast features meaningful conversations from leaders within the business, nonprofit, and government sectors, all working towards to improve inclusion and accessibility within our communities here in North Texas and beyond. Our Emerging Leaders Fellowship program is empowered by the North Texas Disability Chamber. And the North Texas Disability Chamber, when I started this program, the Emerging Leaders Fellowship program, my vision was who would be the next generation of our leaders who would represent our community, whether persons with or without disabilities who seek to serve or be a leader within our region, whether in the business, nonprofit, or government sectors. So that is why we started the first cohort that we're going to be featuring here today. Our 3 fellows, I'll start with Curtis Grice. Curtis is a lover of sports, and that was my one-liner phrase for him, as well as Jordan Busby. He's an aspiring digital content editor. And of course, we have Carolyn Kedslie. She is a nonprofit professional, is experienced in program development, business development, event management, as well as data curation. So a little bit about the Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program. The Emerging Leaders mission is to inspire and motivate and encourage the next generation of leaders with and without disabilities to create more experiences and interactions within our communities, from anywhere from learning from business development, budgeting, dispute resolution, networking, a whole collection of things. The purpose is to provide experiences as well as to encourage our emerging leaders to get out in the world and experience such things. In addition to that, why emerging leaders programs matter. I can't stress enough that in my legacy of service and leadership, I've learned that I cannot do things alone, and that I have to start training and encouraging new leaders to fill the shoes that I once filled. But also, I believe in inspiring the youth, whether younger or older than me, and to give them the tools and the knowledge and resources to be impactful. And I cannot wait to feature 3 emerging leaders who have been incredible thus far in this program, and I'm excited to feature. So let's start with our emerging leaders, and I'm excited to feature these 3 fantastic individuals. And I will say, I'm going to start with Curtis, and before I introduce the 3 of you, including you, Curtis, let's start with the question: is what inspired you to apply for the Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program? Curtis?
Yeah, no, thank you, Dylan. What inspired me to apply is likely our interactions before I ever knew about the chamber or anything that the cohort would be doing, and your actions, with working with the Texas Rangers and across Dallas-Fort Worth and sports spheres. That's really what inspired me to want to get involved, prior to anything that might have affected my own life personally. So you really are the reason why for a lot of people that action is taken, on my end. So you really.
I appreciate that, Curtis. And I will say, seeing you grown over the last year and a half is really nice to see your passion and your service, but also you're a parent of a loved one. And can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we met before anything would have happened, but my son is involved in this world, and he has cerebral palsy. And it's once that occurred and once that happened in my life, it really became clear that these worlds needed to merge. And I'm in this world very, very closely and intently with my son and learning and really just trying to provide a better space for everybody. So
very good. Jordan, This is your first time to have this kind of experience.
That's right.
And I hope you are enjoying it thus far.
Oh, definitely.
And it's okay to be perfectly nervous in this kind of a format. But one thing's for sure, these experiences will bring out more opportunities. So,
Definitely.
same question that I provided for Curtis. What inspired you to apply for the Emerging Leaders Program?
It was actually a strong recommendation from my older sibling. She happens to work with different students in different organizations and thought it would be a great opportunity really to actually learn how to navigate and maneuver through networks, through many different networks, and be able to connect with other people. With her guidance, I managed to learn how to hold conversations really with others and be able to learn more about them, be able to actually delve into their livelihoods.
Very good. I love it. And I will say you've done a tremendous job.
Thank you.
Over the last almost, well, right now it's 10 months. So 10 months.
Almost a year.
This program is almost a year, guys. Oh my God. Anyway, but I will say is this, you are the most improved. And I will say congratulations in going through this.
Yes, sir.
And I can't wait to learn more about you and the work that's happening. Carolyn, now moving to you. What inspired you to be a part of this Emerging Leaders Program?
Well, like you said, with your long list for me of things I've done in nonprofits, I have often found myself in like a leadership role, but I haven't put much intention into actually being mentored and having leadership for myself. I've kind of just winged it for a long time. And so, I've known you, Dylan, for, I don't know, probably 3 years-ish now. And when I saw the advertisement for this fellowship on LinkedIn, I was like, yeah, I gotta start investing in myself in that way, because you can only, go with your own knowledge for so long. It's very easy to think you know everything when your bubble is very small. So I intentionally wanted to be a part of this this fellowship, and I'm very grateful for this cohort because it's allowed me to know what I don't know and to bounce ideas off of others. And I think that's what inspired me to get into this, is just knowing that I have a blind spot.
Well, and I will say, it's this journey watching you. The first time you had the opportunity, we had our Disability Inclusion Summit last year in 2024, and you kind of brought them in that situation. And I knew you had a previous experience prior to coming on that you were a little bit nervous. And so seeing you grow and perform as your own authentic leader is really nice to see.
Thank you.
So our next question for all three of you, and whoever would like to start, is what is one leadership value that drives you?
Sure, Jordan.
Honestly, one thing that probably drives me the most is humility.
Okay.
What I mean by that is that it's okay to make mistakes, but more importantly, it is okay to learn from them and to also lean on others who will be able to give you good insight and whatnot. I wouldn't be the person who I am today if I didn't learn how to be humble for the most part, or just learn what it means to actually know what humility is all about. I don't know everything, and that's okay. If I'm willing to take constructive feedback and criticism for it, then I'll be able to become a better leader in the near future.
Very good. And you really basically talked about the need for a support system.
Yes, sir.
And this week, leading up today, you leaned on your fellow emerging leaders. Absolutely. And I'm impressed, guys. I mean, I gotta say, it's typically, people reach out to me for guidance and advice. But no, these three leaders took it upon themselves to support one another. And that to me is a sign of a leader willing to lean on others who also lead. So who else would like to talk about what their leadership value drives them?
I think mine is in a similar vein, but it's really a combination of candor and transparency. And I think a leader who can be transparent and provide that candid response, whether it's positive or negative feedback at the time, if you're transparent and have candor in your approach, you're going to ingratiate those people underneath you really well. And you're going to have that support underneath that really believe in the project. So to me, those are two really important ones.
Very good.
And I
Well,
guess-
and I love the transparency word, because for those who don't know, in the first episode, I talked about my values and what makes me tick, and that is transparency, inclusion, and collaboration. All right, Carolyn, you're the last one. What leadership value drives you?
Yeah, so for me, I think it's kind of an aggregate of what y'all said, and it might be because we're at this stage in our careers, but mine is honesty. Whether it's someone giving me honest feedback or me giving it out, I think in order to solve a lot of problems, you have to know what the problem is first.
Yeah.
And so in order to improve, you have to know what you have deficits in. In order to, embrace what you're good at, you have to know what you're good at and have people tell you that. So I would say that's my biggest leadership value, is that kind of honesty, both in a professional and a personal setting.
Yeah. Well, and this is great. And I got to say is, one thing that I've learned and seen you do, and, transparency and honesty kind of play hand in hand. I think the challenge is accepting the feedback. And frankly, I had to learn that early on. It was not easy. It was a roller coaster of a journey. But I will say is that as long as you were receptive to the feedback and take it and make improvements along the way, you're going to see incremental results. So,
Yes, sir.
all right. Well, I'm going to go straight to our one and only commercial break. And I wanted to let everybody know that on September 18th is North Texas Giving Day. And North Texas Giving Day is led by Communities Foundation of Texas, one of our partners. And we have a number of nonprofit members and partners affiliated with the North Texas Disability Chamber. I would encourage you to support all of our organizations that are invested in the disability space. But also, the North Texas Disability Chamber is also a 501c3 and is participating on North Texas Giving Day. And I will tell a fun fact for all of you. For those who don't know, the Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program, an average cost to fund this program per person is $3,000. And we do not charge any of these emerging leaders, and we hope to not charge for future cohorts of emerging leaders that amount. And we don't want this to be a financial burden. One of the things that we care about is accessibility or access to. And this kind of intimate cohort experience, getting the opportunities and guidance with me and other speakers, we don't want this to be a financial burden. So I would encourage anybody that's listening today or watching, please consider making a donation to the North Texas Disability Chamber, or consider supporting the various nonprofits that are involved with our organization. You can learn more at northtexasgivingday.org, or you can learn more on North Texas Disability Chamber or ntxdc.org. Thank you. All right, we're going to get back to this, and we want to highlight more into the fellowship experiences so far in your projects. So whoever likes to start with this, what has been the most impactful part of your fellowships thus far? Who would like to take this first?
I'm happy to on this one, mainly because I think I'm in a little bit more unique spot, as the parent of the group and having a little one that's affected uniquely. And to me, the thing that's affected me the most with our meetings this past year is getting to interact with other parents, other people who have dealt with similar things or who have hints and feedback and tricks and tips to assist along the way, and learning their story and understanding a little bit more of the depth involved, that it's sometimes viewed a little bit shallowly from my own perspective or from someone else's own perspective, and getting that other parent, that other father's point of view is invaluable to me. So as much as I've thoroughly enjoyed everybody that we've met with, all of our guests, getting to interact with other fathers, other parents in this space is huge for me.
And you also had the opportunity to meet with individuals with disabilities that are also in a married. They're married. They're working professionals. Some of them might have children, and so the uniqueness of this program, Curtis, is to really providing diverse array of experiences and learning from people directly head on in our community. So I am glad that you're a part of this program. As a young professional, married, you have a son, and you're constantly learning to how to navigate this space, and it's never easy. I will say that one thing I don't have is that experience, and that's the choice that I made. But maybe one day I'll find somebody, who knows. But if you're single, anyways.
Oh my gosh.
This is a professional podcast. But anyways, but I will say is that, Curtis, thank you for being a part of that. And I'm glad that you're enjoying that part of that experience. Who else like to talk about their experience?
I actually like to follow up with what Curtis stated about the monthly meetings. Honestly, I think that's probably the biggest part on me that really got me. Being able to basically just talk to Curtis, you, Mr. Rafaty, and Miss Carolyn. Like, it actually showed me that, there are a lot of people who are very passionate about this program and who wants to see it flourish, who wants to have fun for the most part. With the guests that you brought along, such as Mr. Boatwright and Miss Martin, like, to learn from their stories and their experiences, their hardships. It like showed me that, like, they managed to overcome the obstacles that they once dealt with and are still continuing to grow. So it just basically inspires me to just like do better and try to get out there and just learn, essentially.
I will say, Curtis, is a continuous learning experience. And as long as you commit to learning and growing, whether it's self-improvement or boosting self-confidence, all of that is part of your emerging leader experience.
Yes, sir.
I will say, once this emerging leaders program is finished, you're still going to have to continue to do that work. We'll be there with you, but at the same time, it's now we're giving you the tools. Now you got to run in and take charge.
Yes, sir.
One thing I will say is, Curtis, is that
Jordan,
as I've been seeing you immerse yourself into this experience and taking it seriously, which I appreciate.
Yes, sir.
One thing I will say is that when you first got in the program, you were very in your bubble.
Yeah.
And remember when I said to burst that bubble, right?
Yep.
And so you did exactly just that. So congratulations and kudos to you, and continue that momentum.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Carolyn, what was your most impactful journey thus far?
I think very similar to Jordan, is the most impactful thing has been being in a cohort. Because for most of my experiences, whether they were professional or academic, I was either kind of like winging it at the helm, or I was working one-on-one with a teacher or one-on-one with a supervisor. But being able to really collaborate with this cohort and, learn in that, not a classroom setting, but a cohort, hearing their perspectives, whether it's from a parent or another peer or seeing someone in a different, whenever we're out networking and I can rely and be like, hey, yeah, so Jordan here is with me in the cohort and, not just be alone in representing myself or the program. It's been a great experience because it's shown me the value of working with others very closely and relying on them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I will say, when I challenged you to come to the International Women's Day event, I will tell you, there were a lot of women in the room. I was probably one of 2 or 3 men in the room because I was doing the closing remarks. But I will say is that Carolyn took charge and said, I have a question. She raised her hand, stood up, and she basically asked a very good question. I can't remember the question is, maybe but I will say is that it resonated with among the women in the room, and you inspired action, you inspired results. And so that level of self-confidence really shows. And so, but again, these 3 emerging leader cohorts are part of the cohort 1 is truly magnificent and truly tremendous to watch. So my next question for the 3 of you, and I'll start with you, Curtis.
Okay.
Can you share what your project or initiative, for those who don't know, part of the Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program is they have to deliver a capstone presentation on solving a issue or problem within with the original lens, so covering the North Texas area. And each of them chose a topic of interest or issue, and I can't wait for you guys to hear. So, Curtis, what is your intended project, and what potential impact are you looking to have?
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I know we met last week and kind of outlined it for the first time, but for myself, it's going to be in the vein of what I experience and what I'm dealing with. And so one thing that I realized quickly, my wife and I, once my son was born, that there's an incredibly wide array of types of therapies, physical therapies to utilize and access. And it's really tough to navigate that web to know what's actually the most useful, or what's the most useful for that child in particular. And so over the past 2 years, my wife and I have gotten things down and kind of know the rhetoric now and know what to do, but it was a struggle there for a year or so. And so my capstone, my project here, is to basically create a little bit more of a navigable search or resource for parents or anybody in the community to know what different types of physical therapies and just therapies in general within North Texas are available, what's kind of their focus, maybe what should be utilized in certain situations, and to have a little bit more of a cheat sheet of things to utilize and look out to, because I'm telling you, it's such a tangled web at the moment. You kind of feel lost when you're looking, and you don't have that direction. And so that's what I'm going to focus on and try and create a tool here for people to utilize.
Well, and I'm glad that you're utilizing your personal experiences as you're navigating for your son and trying to get the kind of support. I will say, Curtis, I meet countless of parents trying to figure out how to navigate this landscape and finding which provider provides what kind of, does it cover the insurance? Or, everybody knows insurance plans are hard to understand and trying to figure out which one works, which is acceptable. So, great project, great idea.
Excited.
Look forward to seeing what you brew up, and excited to see what kind of feedback you'll get. So,
Likewise.
I'm going to start with Carolyn. What is your intended project, and what kind of impact that you're hoping to solve?
Yeah, so my project is to create almost a guide or a certification program that different organizations can go through. Organizations, businesses, tourism agencies, so that they can have accessibility in whatever their programs are. So in my current role, I'm an event manager at City House, which is a nonprofit. In all of my previous roles, I've attended a lot of galas and conferences and symposiums, and I've noticed that not all of them are accessible. And, similar to what I said at the top of this, of like, you don't know what you don't know. How can someone plan for accessibility if it's never been, a problem for them, or if it's never been at the front of their mind? So what I'd like to do with my project is really create like a guide and a program that organizations can go through and understand this is what accessibility truly looks like. These are the vendors that you could reach out to help with maybe captioning or accessibility when it comes to lifts or ramps or parking or anything along those lines. And then really, at the end, making sure that they know the impact of it, that it's a really great thing to welcome everyone in the same way. And you'll increase your profits, or you'll increase your tourism, or whatever it might be, by making sure that everyone can attend whatever you're putting on.
Well, and you make a valid point as somebody who creates many events throughout the year.
Yes.
The upcoming awards luncheon.
And you invite us to all of them.
Yes, I invited all of you guys to those events. As great networking too. But I will say is, as somebody who runs events, I'm constantly having to educate venues that when I say accessibility, it has to mean that it's ease of access from entrance. It means that the capacity truly means is accessible for everybody with wheelchairs that might have cerebral palsy, or those that might have sensory overloads. All of those things we got to consider. And so it's not an easy process, but once you get the hang of it, it kind of, you live it, you breathe it, and you kind of know what you need to do. Now, our final one, Jordan, tell me about your project and what the intended impact you might have?
So it's a tough concept, and I know you and I talked about it, and I know you actually helped me along with Curtis and Carolyn, who actually helped me in regards to figuring out what it is I want to do. Basically, my concept revolves around helping those who deal with mental health issues in the form of a way that I like to go through things, gaming, for the most part. In this case, an app that caters to those who have mental health like issues or something along those lines. Basically, I want for those who feel as though that they're alone, that they struggle with certain things, that you're not alone, that at the end of the day, you are enough. You don't have to change who you are for anyone. Something that I've been told multiple times. Being yourself is the best kind of thing that can happen to you.
Yep.
And once people actually get that message, it's like you're bound to do anything you set your mind to. I don't want for you to feel as though that you have no one within your vicinity, because you do. At the end of the day, like, you're able to lean on others and show that, you know, you're capable of anything that you set your mind to. Not a lot of people understand that necessarily nowadays. And it's something that really gets to me. I've known people who've dealt with these sort of issues before, and just saying, hey, you're doing good, that can go a long way.
Yeah.
It can go a long mile.
Wow. This is, I'm speechless, because I will say, Jordan, it's, you've come a long way too.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to remind you that you've came a long way, but also you are showing yourself and sharing with others your experiences. And those experiences will actually impact people to better themselves, but also focus on self-improvement and self-confidence. So
Yes, sir.
thank you, all three of you, for sharing your projects. I got to say, it's exciting to watch, and I can't wait to see what their presentations will be, and of course graduating, and there's just so much more going to happen. So we the next couple questions will be around challenges and growth.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I want to really focus on, I'll start with you, Jordan. What is the one challenge you've faced thus far that you are overcoming?
That's actually something that I thought about, and it took for someone to have a one-on-one conversation to let me know that, you know, it really is. The one thing that the challenge that I face is learning the key difference between working hard and actual growth. What I mean by that is that I've been taught that I'm a great worker, but at the same time, I don't feel as though I'm necessarily growing in one spot. I'm not trying to learn anything else. Like, while it may work hand in hand, they're not necessarily synonymous. You could be working hard in a certain area for a very long time, but not see any kind of growth within it. It's you taking the initiative to, like, basically grow outside of that box or corner that you're in, to let you know that, hey, like, you're good in this area, but have you thought about trying it in different areas as well? What can you do to try to make yourself better? How can you self-improve?
Well, and I will say, Jordan, you brought up a good point, is what Merrill Evans will always say is progress over perfection. As long as you are investing into it, each day can be different. Some days you have this amount of time, and this day you dedicate the entire day. As long as you are investing into it, you're going to see incremental results, and
Yes, sir.
progress over perfection. Not everything has to be perfect.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Jordan, Curtis?
And this was the obstacle faced, correct? So you asked. I think on my end, it's been a little bit more abstract, but it's something I've gotten better about throughout the past year, is time management as the obstacle I faced, because dealing with a toddler at home and a very busy work life, it's with a wife at home and her full-time job, having to juggle really the tasks at hand from work, home, and the chamber now. That's been a beast, but in a good way, because it's allowed me to really kind of drill down and figure out a cadence that works, and understand that also, even though it might have been daunting and that it's a lot to manage, it's doable, and it's achievable, and it feels good once you do it and get something in place. So time management has been a big one this past year.
Very good.
Huge.
And Carolyn.
Yes.
Thank you, Carolyn.
So for mine, it is advocating for myself and putting myself out there. And that's kind of been like the theme that I know you and I have talked about a lot for myself. But, you know, as a woman in any kind of business setting, and then as a person who's in a nonprofit in any kind of business setting, a lot of times I'm not taken very seriously, or they think that, you know, the work that I do is more, you know, charity and good vibes, and that it's not as, rigorous maybe as others. But, you know, with nonprofits, and y'all know with businesses, working with Dylan and nonprofits, it's a lot of work, and it is very serious, and there's, you know, a lot of issues to be solved. And so something that I have faced is people not taking me seriously whenever I say, like, oh yes, I'm a nonprofit professional. They go like, oh yeah, okay. And then they move on. But really kind of sticking my ground and saying, like, yes, and I've gone to these conferences and I have these different certifications. And, you know, even with accessibility, being like, you know, for the disabilities that I have, yes, sometimes I need to take a break every once in a while for my own mental health, or whatever circumstances I'm in. But I can advocate for myself and say, yes, I'm a professional, and I can network and say, what I'm doing is important. How can I collaborate with you? And just being out there and seeing y'all advocate for yourselves and seeing y'all network with others, it's really inspired me, and it's helped me, you know, get over my fear of not being taken seriously and being like, yeah, let me just not go to that event. Let me not ask the question. Let me keep myself seated and not take the mic. It's really encouraged me to be more on the front lines of my own career.
Very good. Well said. I got to say, guys, we're about to be ending the podcast here, but I will say, let me ask you guys these quick question. What would be a call to action for people who are listening today? What would you encourage them? What piece of advice or what action, or, you know, what comes out of your head to inspire people about the Emerging Leaders Program?
I mean, I'd say there's, for most people watching or listening, there's almost certainly something you're dealing with that, you know, kind of internally that you maybe should take action with or do. And I have a feeling that's kind of where we were at in some degrees, and we finally did make that step, and it's been invaluable. So the call to action there is that I think a lot of people know that they maybe should do that or take that step or that leap of faith. And I'm here to tell you it's worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Carolyn?
My call to action would be something that I found incredibly valuable in this cohort is figure out your values. You know, we opened this up with those leadership values, but, you know, I think it was in our very first meeting. It was like, what are your professional values? What are your personal values? Leadership. And having that kind of North Star has been very helpful for guiding my actions and what career moves I want to take. So I would encourage anyone listening, if they want to develop themselves professionally or personally, just figure out, you know, what are my values? How can I follow that specifically?
Yeah.
All right. And Jordan?
One call to action I will say towards the end of the day, be yourself and take the initiative. Speak up for yourself when need be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who's not necessarily doing that, and usually, like, people usually just pass them by. It's okay to talk up for yourself and basically state that, hey, this is what I'm capable of. All I need is a step in the right direction and someone who is willing to help and or guide me there. That's something that a lot of people need to know.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, there you have it, folks. Curtis, thank you again. Thank you guys for being a part of the second episode of Let's Work Inclusively podcast. I got to say, I am truly appreciative of all three of you for taking part of this, taking initiative, investing in yourself, but also impacting others.
Yeah.
So thank you to all three of you. I will say it's important to invest in the next generation of leaders. And if you want to help support the Chamber or other organizations that are investing our next emerging leaders, please do so. It takes dollars to do this, but I will say is we're proud and excited to see what they will do. As well as thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, everybody.